She had been sent here to clean, her grandmother's orders. Sort through the boxes, Lily. Get rid of anything useless. But Lily had never been one to listen. Instead, she searched for treasures. And then she saw it. $1. It sat inside a wooden chest, draped in a faded lace dress, its porcelain skin cracked along the cheeks like the fragile surface of an old painting. Its glassy blue eyes stared up at her, both beautiful and unsettling. But what drew Lily in the most was its heart. Or rather, the deep, jagged hole in its chest where a heart should be. Something about it unsettled her. But more than that, it intrigued her. She reached out, hesitated, then lifted it gently from the chest. The moment she touched it, the attic seemed to shudder. The bulb above flickered, and a sharp gust of wind slammed the window shut. Lily swallowed. Just the storm, she muttered, but her voice felt too small in the vast, dark attic. Cradling the doll, she traced her fingers over the hollow space in its chest. Who had owned it before? Why was it broken? Then, a whisper, faint, delicate, but unmistakable. "Help me." Lily's breath caught in her throat. She dropped the doll, scrambling backward, her pulse hammering in her ears. The attic was silent once more. Just the rain, just the wind. But when she looked down, the doll was no longer where she had dropped it. It was standing, looking at her. Lily screamed. She bolted from the attic, slamming the door shut behind her. She wouldn't go back. Not ever. But that night, as she lay in bed, unable to sleep, she heard it again. "Help me." The voice was closer this time, right by her ear. Lily's scream was swallowed by the darkness. Morning came too slowly. Sunlight trickled through her curtains, washing away the horrors of the night. Maybe it had been a dream, a trick of the mind. She told herself that as she forced herself to move, to breathe. But when she stepped out of bed, her foot landed on something small and cold. The doll. It sat upright, its hollow chest facing her, its cracked lips curved ever so slightly. And this time, Lily knew she wasn't imagining it, because the doll was crying. A single, red-tinged tear trailed down its porcelain cheek. Lily did the only thing she could think of. She grabbed the doll, stuffed it into a bag, and ran. Her grandmother's house was old, too old. It had history, secrets, stories whispered from one generation to the next. She had never cared about them before. But now she needed answers. She found her grandmother in the kitchen, stirring a pot of tea as if nothing in the world had changed. But the moment she saw the doll, she froze. Lily saw it then, the recognition, the fear. "Where did you find that?" her grandmother whispered. "In the attic." A long silence stretched between them. Then her grandmother sighed, setting down her spoon with trembling hands. "Her name was Elise." Lily's throat tightened. "Who?" "The doll." A pause. "And the girl who owned her?" Lily's fingers curled around the fabric of the bag. "What happened to her?" Her grandmother hesitated. Then, in a voice so soft it barely touched the air, she said, "She died." But not before she cursed that doll. Lily's blood turned to ice. "Elise was a lonely child," her grandmother continued. "She had no friends, no family who cared for her. The doll was her only comfort. But when her heart was broken, she—" The lights flickered. A cold wind snaked through the room, though no windows were open. "She put her pain into the doll," her grandmother whispered. Lily's grip tightened on the bag. "What do I do?" Her grandmother's gaze was heavy. "You must return her heart." Lily had no idea what that meant. But that night, when she lay in bed, the doll sitting across from her, she saw something she hadn't before. Inside the hollow chest, something glimmered, faint, like a memory buried in the dark. Lily reached out, hesitant. The moment her fingers brushed the hollow space, her vision blurred. And then she was somewhere else. A dimly lit room. A little girl sitting in the corner, hugging the doll tightly to her chest. Her shoulders shook with silent sobs. A man entered. His face was obscured, but his voice was sharp, cold. "You think anyone cares about you?" Elise flinched. "You are nothing," he spat. "Not even worth loving." Then he grabbed the doll and the vision shattered. Lily gasped, clutching her chest as if the pain had been hers. She understood now. Elise had poured all her pain into the doll, her loneliness, her heartbreak. She had given it her sorrow, and it had remained trapped inside. Lily looked at the doll, at the hollow chest. "I'm sorry," she whispered. The doll stared back, silent, but for the first time it didn't feel menacing. It felt lost. Lily reached out again, this time not with fear but with understanding. She pressed her palm against the hollow chest, closing her eyes. "I see you." A pulse. A why.